A very happy new year, everybody. I'm so glad that, it's been already nearly going to be 4 years since we started the book club, and we've read about 42 books together. This is our 42nd book. Really feels amazing that something which just was, born out of the COVID lockdown and me not knowing what to do with myself actually grew into such a beautiful community of readers hanging out together like this every month. So thank you so much to all of you for joining in and for making this whatever it is, and all the fun that we are having together. So today we're going to be discussing Orbital together. And so this is the 2024 Booker Prize winner. So without further jabbering by myself, let me share screen and start. I hope things are clear because I've changed my laptop and I've been like a little bit of fumbling through how to go about this. So yeah, so this, as I said, it's our 42nd book club discussion. And today we're going to be seeing a little bit about the author and the book. The third part is wrong. We are going to be mainly seeing about some other related works which have inspired the author, literary style, themes, some discussion with each other, and a few quotes from the book. The author, Samantha Harvey, is an English novelist. She won the 2024 Booker Prize for her novel Orbital, which we've read now. And Orbital draws upon conventions from multiple genres and fields, including literary fiction, science fiction, and philosophy. Harvey studied philosophy at the University of York and at the University of Sheffield. She completed the Bath Spark University Creative Writing MA course in 2005, and she also has a PhD in creative writing. She also teaches in Spain creative writing along with another author. She's written 6 books, five of which are novels, and one is a non-fiction book. And she's written many short stories and articles and book reviews. Her writing has been compared to that of Virginia Woolf, and she also claims that Virginia Woolf is one of her favorite writers. So, The Shapeless Unease, which is her only work of non-fiction, is actually an account of her experience with severe insomnia. It is also considered as a very insightful read. Orbital won the 2024 Booker Prize, and it's also won the Hawthornden Prize. It was shortlisted for the Orwell Prize for Political Fiction and the Ursula Le Guin Prize for Imaginative Fiction. While it is said that the book incorporates elements of science fiction, literary fiction, and philosophical drama as what is generally mentioned, but Harvey, vehemently denies, and she says the novel is definitely not science fiction. About the book, Orbital, the book takes place on a space station over one day of low Earth orbits. And it was described by Mark Haddon as one of the most beautiful novels that he's read in a very long time. The Booker Chair of Judges said Samantha Harvey has written a novel propelled by the beauty of 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets. Everyone and no one is the subject. As 6 astronauts in the International Space Station circle the Earth, observing the passages of weather across the fragility of borders and time zones. With a language of lyricism and actuity, Harvey makes our world strange and new for us. The Booker interview by Samantha Harvey was also very interesting, where she talks about the inspiration for the book, inspiration for the topic itself.
Yeah. Mama, study.
And, she talks about her inspiration for the book, inspiration for her writing, etc. So I just wanted to share, since we all love to read new books, I just wanted to share this um, suggestions which she's given and books which have inspired her. So she says one of the books that made her want to write was Waterland by Graham Swift. It's the strength and quality of Swift's world building, his gorgeous layered storytelling flair, and the sheer conviction of that novel that made me itch to write. It made me think not I could do that, but I wonder if I could ever do that. And similarly, her inspiration, when she talks about her inspiration for the book, she says, I wanted to write about our human occupation of low Earth orbit for the last quarter of a century, but not as science fiction, but as realism. Could I evoke the beauty of that vantage point with the care of a nature writer? Could I write about amazement? Could I pull off a sort of space pastoral? These are the challenges I set myself. And Samantha also talks about another book, a book which she can't get out of her head, she says. So last winter, I read Hurricane Season by Fernando Melco, translated from the Spanish by Sophie Hughes, and cannot get it out of my head. In many ways, I want to. It's a brutal onslaught of a novel that brands you. I have no idea how Sophie pulled off this translation, but the result is remarkable. Everything about the book is masterful and undeniable, and yes, dazzling. Dark, 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 and dazzling. I just, I know this is, we are digressing from Orbital, but I just wanted to share these, books because they seemed interesting. Maybe we could pick it up later. And coming back to Orbital. So, Orbital's literary style is very lyrical and evocative. She uses a lot of images and metaphors to create vivid pictures of Earth from space. She blends poetic prose with clear articulation to create a meditation on the beauty and the vulnerability of Earth. Orbital uses a non-linear plot with chapters that correspond to the ascent and descent of a spaceship. The structure is like a looping elliptical travel, with each chapter serving as a vignette into the lives of the astronauts. It has a unique structure that uses a reflective approach and poetic prose to explore existential questions about humanity and the planet. Um, so coming back to the themes, in case anyone would like to unmute and share anything, please feel free to do so. So coming to the themes of the book, I thought one of the most interesting themes, which has been very subtly woven into the book, is the climate change and the human cost of climate change. So the typhoon which forms over the Pacific Ocean has been mentioned many times in that book. And it says it hurtles rapidly towards Southeast Asia, where it makes a landfall over three countries which commonly experience typhoons: the Philippines, Indonesia, and Malaysia. And uh, very subtly, the book talks about the sustainability of evacuation as a calamity response. We see Pedro's relationship with a fisherman in the island of Samar. And Pedro realizes that the fisherman has nowhere to go because his entire life he has lived on that island. It's only based on that island too. So if the proper response to a calamity that happens on a regular basis is evacuation, then that means that area is actually uninhabitable, at least for certain portions of the year. And at the same time, it is inequitable, for the fisherman and his compatriots to bear the brunt of the calamity when none of them are responsible for the long-term causes which actually lead to that disaster. And that is where, she also talks about slowly about how, um, as she talks about the typhoon, she also talks about the launch of the new Luna mission, which promises the start of a new era in space exploration. And she subtly puts in the point where when Sean Knox Petrion, he has to write that essay, that article, I think, for a magazine or something about the future of humankind. And Petro equips that it is written with the gilded pens of billionaires who prefer to direct their resources toward rocket fuel rather than to develop systems that would alleviate the burdens of people like the fishermen. So one more thing which is woven over here along with this climate change, in the book is where she speaks about how all the very subtly mentions all the station crew members actually hail from the global north nations, countries which are traditionally associated with the kind of impact that negatively affects the world climate. The novel makes this explicit by examining the ways the space missions plays into the politics of want, a term which the novel uses to refer to the global north's propensity to claim the world's resources for its own interests. So the world is literally, reshaped by these nations' desires, and that's what has led to deforestation, rising global temperature, and all the climate change that we are experiencing. Um, so actually, in related terms, I wanted you to watch a very fascinating speech about climate change. I'm going to, ask Sarith to share the, details of that video. Um,
Okay, I'll put the link
yeah,
on
it'll
the
be
chat. I
great
look
if
for
you.
it and put the link.
Yeah. The YouTube link to that specific video, which about the speech in the climate change. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yes. It was Vijay Prasad,
Yeah.
who is a prominent journalist and an author. So he had spoken about the iniquity of the whole thing, where the advanced countries are the biggest consumers in the world and indirectly responsible for most of the pollution happening in the world. But the consequences fall on some other countries and people.
Yeah.
I'll get the link.
Yeah. It's really, really powerful and a very, very interesting watch. You should definitely, I will definitely recommend all of you to watch it. Once we finish the, this theme of climate change, maybe I'll stop the screen share and then you can share your thoughts on this too. So also at the end of the novel, the lunar mission crew laugh with the ground control over the story of a Chinese man who was struck by lightning more than anyone else on Earth. So they interpret the story like as if it's a tale of idiocy, believing that the man had deliberately intended to be struck so many times. The ambiguity about whether this was actually the case hints at the mindset that surrounds space missions when it comes to its contribution to climate change. Harvey admits, that in some of her interviews, she says that I absolutely admire many elements of space exploration, but also at the same time, she emphasizes through her nuanced perspective that improving the lives of people on Earth should take precedence over the potential colonization of new planets. And I think that's something which is always up for debate. So before I go into the next point, maybe I'll stop screen share and please feel free to share your thoughts on this.
Interestingly, Stephen Hawking's thought is that there is no other option for mankind. They have to explore other, inhabitable planets and spaces. Because at some point the Earth is going to run out of resources. So that was the late Stephen Hawking's point of view. Just a comment.
Okay. Is it because could it be said that I don't know, maybe as a common man we feel that it is something unnecessary and futile, and maybe as a scientist they feel that it's important. I'm not sure.
Yes, definitely. In the course of your human lifetime or few generations, I think it makes no difference. But that's more long term thinking.
Hmm. Maybe in the book also it adds on to that thought that whatever they are doing is not the end of things, but it's just a beginning, and it is very important to have that beginning so that they can build on it and do more. Maybe that's what so maybe it is necessary. Yeah. Shamal Ravji, would you like to add anything?
First, very happy new year to you all, madam.
Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy New Year.
And so kind of you. Thank you very much. And he was referring, actually, there was another documentary that won an Oscar also. There was Allegory, An Inconvenient Truth.
Okay.
This, I'm
I think
putting it,
it's there on some one of these viewing channels also. I think I've not seen.
perhaps, because in it actually he has highlighted how human beings have messed up this planet.
Mm.
It is a worthy thing. And because there was a story behind, in my case, when I was in Bhubaneswar, it was some Nature Day, World Environment Day, some function they were conducting. I was passing in front of the shop. They called me and said, see, today is a World Environment Day. We will give you some plants, actually small. You can put. I said, okay, give us, there's no problem. Along with that, they gave me this CD. At the time, this was available free of cost.
Oh,
From there, I learned about this. He has brought it wonderfully. How we are rather messing up as our asset or planet, and what is required, and how this climate change is going to affect our lives in detail. Al Gore, he lost the person. He contested as a candidate, but he lost the. He was, I think, he was a Democratic candidate actually.
okay.
That is what Al Gore. That was the
Mm,
thing. And
mm,
as far as the
Yeah.
book is concerned, actually, the I was it is different. That is what I felt when I read it. For what so many books that we have read, but this book stands out.
mm.
This is a rare read for me
True.
because we read and enjoyed books that explore human relationships here on Earth.
Mm,
Perhaps this is the book that explores our position in the universe and the position of Earth in universe. That is more highlighted. Of course, there is interrelation of those six astronauts and cosmonauts, whatever you say, there is no problem. But that is less focused than our Earth, the beauty of Earth.
yeah,
Those things are eye-catching. That's what I felt.
true, true.
It is thought-provoking, and the language is really meditative, poetic, and beautiful. Maybe three, I have put it, I liked it that way. After
Mm,
a long time, I felt actually, though the book is being small, it has got a lot of punch and the language is really good.
mm.
That drives you to read the book. Otherwise, it is what I call only six, no story, no
Yeah,
character development, little of a background here and there, but much and their daily routine. That's what is highlighted.
correct. But it
But
was, I also felt like there was a vein of sadness through the whole book. And that
exactly
kind of
correct.
made it difficult to read the book sometimes.
I felt it that way, particularly the typhoon that is hovering behind, actually.
Mm,
We don't know how much damage it is going to cause, how
mm,
much human lives will be lost, how much property will be lost, what is its damage, and other things. Because he builds it up gradually, he doesn't happen.
correct.
Sometimes here, sometimes there, because the spaceship moves around and it builds up the suspense or the worry gradually, it gets built up.
Mm,
That is, it is a sad book, Alge.
yeah. It's a kind
But
of
on
very
the other
sad and
side, a
mm,
sad book, and it happens. But ultimately, faith wins at the end in that Philip Saint Church. Actually, what is his, that Santo Nino? Or that is what his name.
mm,
Faith
yeah,
wins because particularly the church building doesn't go away along with the typhoon. So
correct.
it has got a philosophical angle. That is what I appreciated.
Mm,
Because if you what I call read and understand the description of our earth from top, and if you can link it with some of our Puranas, it takes you to a different plane altogether. Either Krishna's Vishwarupam or so other many other things are there. Let's not get into them. It is very widely described actually. The hugeness, the mammotthness, the greatness, everything
yeah.
is an extra superlatives only. That is one thing. And another point also what I found was
Mm,
we witness in a day one sunrise and one sunset in a single day. To
mm,
witness 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets in the same single day, it's very exciting experience.
correct.
And it's altogether a different experience. It is a different thing that disturbs one's biological rhythm. That is a different thing. Uh, and the another thing also, the crew who conduct series of experiments. You see, they don't remain just only conducting series of experiments. I found them all six heroes in it.
Correct,
In a
correct.
way, they were very observant,
Mm,
very observant. The beauty of the earth was really elaborated and described by them.
yeah.
And one paragraph particularly I found actually touching. If you permit me, I will read it
Sure,
out.
please do.
Uh, It is a stunning, the beauty and other things are experienced. Let me share the para here. It is in page 66 and 67, if I can be.
Mm-hmm.
At the brink of a continent, the light is fading.
Mm-hmm.
At the brink of a continent, the light is fading. The sea is flat and copper with reflected sun, and the shadows on the clouds are long on the water. Asia come and ye gone. Australia a dark, featureless shape against this last breath of life, which has now turned platinum. Everything is dimming. The earth's horizon, which cracked open with light at so recent a dawn, is being erased. The darkness eats at the sharpness of its line as if the earth is dissolving, and the planet turns purple and appears to blur. A watercolor washing away. There is so much poetry in it. That's what struck me more.
Yes. And even generally, I think in small things which she's described and written, like about the how all the borders seem to disappear in the night, except the border between India and Pakistan.
Pakistan, because very much illuminated. That's what she
Yeah.
calls. It is there.
So because that's one border which is being what she's trying to subtly say is that that's one border which is being protected so much that there's so much illumination and
It's
uh,
there.
yeah, that
And
was.
she elaborates and says these
Mm,
border lines drawn by human beings are meaningless. That's what
correct.
she finally also says. They are
And
nothing.
yeah,
That feeling you will have, and
correct.
how much mean and petty we are. That also, I felt small actually after I read the book.
True.
See, the way you are living, the way you are handling your life's affairs,
Mm,
war, society, famine, other things, selfishness, drive, is petty before the hugeness of earth in which we live.
that's what she says, that in that when we will discover the new planet, we'll have a flag for the planet itself, so that there's not for each country, there is no borders.
No.
I think that's what she's trying to very subtly say, I think, over there also.
But one question I was stuck up, finally I will conclude actually.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, why do we do all this space exploration, spending a huge lot of money, and those space astronauts who go, their life is at risk. We have this Sunita Williams now, and other man whose life is sick, who was falling gradually, atrophied, and other things. What makes us to do it? Why? Are we alone, or do we suffer that we are alone, lonely, and we want to have some company, say in some other planet called Mars or something else? Why do we want it? Are we going to search for a response to our loneliness on the planet Earth? That was the one question. And second question, are there any other forms of life? And now, if we find evidence, how we are going to face it? These are the two permanent questions. That's what I faced after I completely read the book, apart from the language and other things. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Yeah, these are very interesting points, and I think they are in the minds of everyone. And like what you said, that the smallness of our being and compared to the whole world, I think was something which
The hugeness, the mammothness, I don't have exact words for that. We are very small, actually.
yeah. And I
And
think that is what he also tried to say in where the about the painting also, where there it's only
that is a wonderful point you touched,
yeah.
actually. I missed it.
Mm.
Painting by that a writer,
Mm.
a painter from the place.
Yeah.
No, it is so much confusion in it. It is metaphor for the novel. That's what I found. I somehow missed it while saying it, actually.
Mm.
It took one or two pages to describe that painting, actually, and he takes a
Correct.
copy of that in that spaceship. I
Mm.
was trying to link how come this particular painting, actually, where painter himself is present in the painting, it
Mm.
makes a different sense, actually. That
Yeah.
is a good thing. It was a metaphor for the novel. Agreed.
Yeah. And finally, at the end, discovering that, it's just the vanity and it's only the dog which doesn't have that vanity. And that is actually the focus of the painting. And all that was
Yes,
very
yes,
nice.
yes.
Yeah, very
Ah,
nicely
ah, ah,
explained.
ah.
There was one thing right at the beginning, which I missed until I was very deep into the book. So it
Sir,
was the map of the world, and then the orbit numbers are given across that map.
Yeah.
So each chapter,
yes.
when we read, if I had seen that map where exactly the spacecraft was going, that might have been more informative.
Correct.
I
Very
missed it
correct.
until the very end, actually.
Ah, exactly. All 16 there. I read it. Just I saw it academically, I left it. 24 hours of Earth orbits with the daylight in the northern hemisphere.
Hmm.
Yes, yes.
Because each of the
This was
chapters has that orbit number, no, sir.
ascending,
So
descending.
yeah, ascending, descending. So if you look at the
Exactly.
map, it shows exactly which orbit it
Where
is and where
actually
it
was
is.
the
Yeah,
very
yeah,
correct,
yeah,
where the spacecraft was.
Hmm.
yeah.
And
Orbit
it correctly
and
shows the place also where
uh,
it's described in that chapter.
after I completed the book, I thought of rereading it for two things. For the points R has missed, were there any points that I missed in my first read? I wanted to check, and I want to enjoy the beauty of the language again. Just for the other thing. Forget about the message. The language was very beautiful. Thank you.
Very true. Yeah. Okay. I had a few more themes in the book. Let me screen share. So another thing which as we just spoke about, was the cosmic insignificance of humanity. So with the now once the lunar mission is launched, the station crew members feel that there's a kind of aimlessness over their efforts. They feel that this is something even more important than what they are doing. So they can no longer feel that their actions are important, and other people are actually taking bigger steps in space exploration, which overshadows their own. And the novel inflates this sense of insignificance by considering the smallness of Earth against the vastness of the universe also. When we talk about more about space exploration, looking at Mars, other planets, etc. And it's difficult to think that anything is important or worthwhile in the grand, scope of cosmic history. Uh, But at the same time, the novel also compresses all of the cosmic history into a single year. In that particular chapter, which imagines the Big Bang as starting on January 1st. In fact, one interesting thing is there are many YouTube videos also which have a pictorial representation of the same thing. What if, Big Bang had been on January 1st? Then when would have humans come? When did this happen? When did that happen? You have those entire, viewing of that thing. So it was very interesting to see that in the form of in the, a chapter in the book also. So much of the year actually goes by before humanity even appears, emerging only in the final seconds of that year. So it underscores the fact that human history is actually dwarfed by the scale of the universe to which it belongs. So human history is the result of a long series of accidents. So without the intention of intelligent creation, nothing has a destiny. So now again, over here, there are various arguments, subtle arguments again between the astronauts themselves. So Sean argues this isn't the case, interpreting that every part of the universe as a sign that humanity was created with a certain level of heat. So he believes in God. He's considered as the soul of the, uh, space crew. So his hypothetical argument with Nell stalls on their differing interpretations of the universe, with neither one able to argue beyond a difference in observation, how they see the, this whole, um, maybe we can say, whole thing of the birth of Earth and, the birth of humanity. Another interesting thing is the inevitability of endings, which we see. So early on, right at the beginning of its book itself, we see the loss of Chi's mother. And it establishes the novel's preoccupation with temporality and the impermanence of things. So the knowledge that all things must eventually end only haunts her as a person. She feels her mother's death, and she also speaks about how, they wanted to wait for her to return before they have the funeral, but then she, refuses. She asks them to go ahead. And all those subtle things which keeps popping up throughout the book, her feelings, her thoughts, her memories of her mother. It also perturbs the other astronauts as they consider the trajectories of their lives and the universe which surrounds them. So the novel leverages the distortion of time as a unique feature of space travel. So for every 24 hours that they pass in orbit, several whole days pass on Earth. So no matter how much time she has experienced since she left the planet, so much more time has elapsed for her mother. So by going into space, she has, in a sense, she feels she has accelerated her mother's life to its very end, which is not really true, but it's just that her own feeling about, the loss of her mother. And fears of the end also haunt Anton when he discovers the lump on his neck, and he feels it threatens his career ambitions to travel to the moon. So, with the knowledge that the lump will, render him ineligible for future further missions, immediately the integrity of his whole life starts to collapse for him, and it also enables him to consider the end of his marriage as well. Also, the novel ends with the implication that the end is coming for the space station as well. All the cracks which appear on the modules and the foreshadowing of its eventual burial in the Pacific Ocean. And also, the same chapter, the Orbit 13 chapter about Big Bang starting on January 1st, also brings this sense of extreme ending to an extreme when it hints at the very end of human life itself and dwarfing the feelings that surround all these various other endings. I have some quotes. So please feel free to, unmute and share your quotes too. So some alien civilization might look on and ask, what are they doing here? Why do they go nowhere but round and round? The earth is the answer to every question. The earth is the face of an exalted lover. They watch it sleep and wake and become lost in its habits. The earth is a mother waiting for her children to return, full of stories and rapture and longing. To his tally kept on a piece of paper in his crew quarters, Roman will add the 88th line. Not to wish the time away, but to try to tether it to something countable. Otherwise the center drifts. Space shreds time to pieces. They were told this in training. Keep a tally each day when you wake. Tell yourself this is the morning of a new day. Be clear with yourself on this matter. This is the morning of a new day. I didn't write the entire explanation, but I just put the last line. The teacher said, "Is it just a painting about nothing? Just a room with some people in it and a mirror?" Sometimes when we discuss some books also, I think, are we reading too much into it? Maybe the author didn't even think about all this and it was just a book. So similarly, maybe the painting was just a painting. You never know. For the first time ever, you've been overtaken, say ground crews. Your yesterday's news, they joke. And Petro Jack jokes back that better yesterday's news than tomorrow's, if they know what he means. If you're an astronaut, you'd rather not ever be news. Do we want buildings on the moon? She said. I love the moon as it is, she said. Yes, yes, he'd answered. Me too. But all those things are beautiful because their beauty doesn't come from their goodness. You didn't ask if progress is good. And a person is not beautiful because they're good. They're beautiful because they're alive, like a child. Alive and curious and restless. Never mind good. They're beautiful because there's a light in their eyes, sometimes destructive, sometimes hurtful, sometimes selfish, but beautiful because alive. And progress is like that, by its nature, alive. This was also about how all these journeys to space keep getting, replaced by new and more further explorations which take place. But still they are important. So one day their journeys to space will seem nothing but a coach excursion, and the horizons of possibility that open out at their fingers will only confirm their own smallness and briefness. They swim in microgravity like little watched fish. The heart cells they culture will one day be used to replace those of the slingshotting astronauts bound for Mars, but not their own, which are fated to die. They take blood, urine, fecal, and saliva samples, monitor their heart rates and blood pressure and sleep patterns, document any ache, pain, or unusual sensation. They are data. Above all else, that a means and not an end. In a painting that's all about looking and seeing, it's the only thing in the scene that isn't looking anywhere, at anyone, or anything. Now, he doesn't see a painter or princess or dwarf or monarch. He sees a portrait of a dog, an animal surrounded by the strangeness of humans. All their odd cuffs and ruffles and silks and posturing, the mirrors and angles and viewpoints, all the ways they've tried not to be animals, and how comical this is when he looks at it now. And how the dog is the only thing in the painting that isn't slightly laughable or trapped within a matrix of vanities. The only thing in the painting that could be called vaguely free. Probably that's how Earth is looking at all the humans too. A full throttle scupper in that billionaire's rocket, out and away, away from the junk, away from the breaking, burning, storming, scintillating Earth, like fleeing the scene of a crime. Away from the plucking, flinging brute typhoon, and the houses barging down roads become rapids and calamitous ruin that can't yet be measured. Away from the planet held hostage by humans, a gun to its vitals, teetering slightly on its canting orbit, away into virgin, up for sale wilderness. This new black gold, this new domain ripe for the taking, through that 250,000 mile sword of space. I think every single sentence in this, paragraph has been written so beautifully. Her, yes,
That's what I was saying actually.
yeah,
If you search every 2, 3 pages, you find a beautiful sentence, almost poetic, that you feel like rereading and repeating and retaining in your mind.
true, true.
I have not read any of her other books. I don't know how her other books are.
Mhm.
But this book, though small, commands respect. That's what I found.
Yeah. I heard the others. I don't know how. I'm not very sure how good they are, but I heard that these kind of philosophical musings and thoughts are a thread through all her books. So probably they must also be very good. And the earth a complex orchestra of sounds, an out of tune band practice of saws and woodwind, a fumbled harmony taking shape, the sound of very far off voices coming together in a choral mass, an angelic sustained note that expands through the static. You think it'll burst into song, the way the choral sound emerges full of intent, and this polished bead planet sounds briefly so sweet. Its light is a choir. Its light is an ensemble of a trillion things which rally and unify for a few short moments before falling back into the rin tin tin and jumbled tumbling of static galactic woodwind rainforest trance of a wild and lilting world. That was another thing which kind of amazed me when it comes to sound. She also talks about how noisy the whole place is, that even when the TV is blasting, they're able to sleep because it's always noisy. Yeah. Uh, Please feel free to share if there are any other quotes, but I'm very sure there are lots more also. So, yes. Yes. I hope you can see me, right? Yeah.
Ha, ha.
Yeah. Actually, a lot of many more beautiful quotes, but I thought let me end with this.
Exactly. The preceding quote was about sounds. There is another quote also.
Mm-hmm.
Where she describes, of course, almost last page.
Mm-hmm.
She describes the different sounds of different planets.
Yeah.
That is
Neptune.
also touching. I was thinking how she can be so meticulous, so detailed, and so what you call. I'll put it in the chat actually.
Mm-hmm.
This one.
Yeah, Neptune's.
Almost last but one page. Neptune has got a different sound. Saturn has got a different sound. Uranus has got a different sound. Many different sounds with different tempo she describes here. Neptune's sound is liquid and rushing, a tide crashing on to a shore in a howling storm. Saturn's is that of the sonic boom of a jet, a sound that resonates up through your feet and between the bones. Saturn's rings are different still, a gale siphoning through a derelict building but in a slowed and warping tempo. Uranus' frenetic japping screech. Jupiter's moon low makes the metallic pulsing hum of a tuning fork. How and the earth, of course, that is I didn't have a complex orchestra of sounds. And she has given the numero uno to earth, its sound and music and other things.
Mm.
This is also a good thing.
Yeah. It's very nice. It's a very beautiful and a lovely read. But not a
Hmm,
very, I wouldn't say it's a very easy read. I felt like I had to take a lot of time to read it.
very correct.
Yeah.
It was also difficult for me because there is no story or any hero who holds your hand takes you along. You have to navigate yourself the way they were confused in the space. Every time
Mm.
some expression, and sometimes it is also non-linear. That makes a story reading or a book reading little difficult if you are not that attentive and focused. And
Correct.
all above all, the language.
Hmm.
Because you get lost yourself in an what I call an expression of depth that seizes your attention sometimes. So story gets a what I call number two position, and this overrides the story. That happens sometimes. But all said and done, it merits a reread. That is a fact.
Mm. One thing I was really particularly impressed is, the depiction of the Earth from all angles.
Ah,
It almost one is, it shows her love for the Earth, and it shows us the beauty of the Earth.
ah,
That is one. But the second thing is, how can anyone write so nicely about the views from that altitude
ah.
without actually being there? That was something which puzzled me. It is as if she has been there and she has seen that. That is how she has written.
Right.
True.
It is 6+1. We have six astronauts there,
Yeah.
and one is Samantha Harvey. That is how she was so original in her writing.
Yeah.
Or she might have consulted other astronauts. She must have read a lot of books, um, movies, films, documentaries,
Yeah.
color photographs, and she must have added her imagination, her
Mm.
creativity to take us all to a different level.
Yeah. She
Mm.
acknowledges in her acknowledgements, she says she thanks NASA for the wealth of information that they have made available. And I don't know if it was specifically, I don't think it was specifically made available for her. I think it's the
Ah.
ones which they have generally put up everywhere, on their websites and YouTube and things like that.
And did you ever think of this? What the title means, madam?
Mm. No.
What actually? It was the first time orbit. Well, we understand. Orb, we understand. Orbital. Frankly, I was not. So I have looked at it from the dictionary. Orbital means a three-dimensional description of the most likely location of an electron around an item. That is the meaning. One meaning. And
Okay.
another one, a mathematically described region around a nucleus in an atom or molecule that may contain 0, 1, or 2 electrons. So it is more scientific, actually, the title. And I was trying to connect it with the subject of the book. I failed.
Hmm.
Uh, how come the title of the book justifies the contents of the book? Normally, I sometimes do that. And this time, I could not make anything out of it. Maybe I have to again dig further deep.
I thought
Orbital.
maybe she means that they are going around the Earth, right? So the Earth like a nucleus, and they going on orbiting maybe around the Earth is what she means by that.
Could be, because she
Similarly
is a very
to an
creative writer. She might have that.
Mm.
But once,
But you are right, sir. Orbital has a specific meaning in the context of
uh,
electrons
uh,
surrounding an atom. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
That, but how it connects? Maybe anyway, it's, some other time.
very, very interesting. Yeah.
Huh, huh. The title itself is very attractive. That is another thing. Unusual,
Yeah. I
uncommon,
I think that
uncommon.
yeah, the title is very uncommon and very
Ah,
unusual. And
uh,
even if you see the cover, it's not a very you can't feel like it is a space cover, you know. While it
no,
looks like space, if you look closely, they are just like blobs of paint.
exactly.
There's not much clarity of a planet or something over there. So,
Nothing. Hazy,
yeah,
actual presentation.
yeah. But only the Earth is shown clearly.
Yes, rest of the things are very hazy.
Yeah,
Other Milky Ways, galaxies, everything hazy,
yeah.
but artistically done. That is
Very
what I have to
artistically done.
say.
Yeah.
Artistical. And the black comments, that
Hmm.
I could make it out. The color black actually overrides rest of the colors. That
Hmm.
means the space is always dark. She somewhere describes about the darkness of space.
Yeah.
And Nell, it seems she says she gets drawn, sucked into that is Nell. When she goes outside to fix things to the
Hmm.
spaceship, she just floats.
Yeah.
There she describes the darkness actually. So the cover is also has some message. Well, it's time.
Yeah. It's very beautiful. Very, very beautiful.
uh,
Yeah. Good. Nice.
yeah.
So the next book that we are reading will be The White Tiger by
Yes.
Arvind Adiga.
Adiga. It's a
And
big book.
it's a
Number of pages. It's a big book, madam. It
no, no,
appears.
no. I think it must be between 200 to 300, maybe
Oh,
250,
so small. I have not checked. I will
maybe
order.
300. I'm not very sure, but it's there in my bookshelf. It's not very huge. I know that much. Yeah.
Then it's okay.
Yeah, I haven't read the book, but I've heard a lot of good about it, so I'm very excited to definitely pick it up.
Sure. Otherwise, how you will get a
Yeah.
price, Booker price? But after that, did he write any books?
Arvind Adiga, there's one cricket book which he wrote, if I'm not wrong.
Acha. But sorry, I didn't find much. Oh,
Yeah.
it is not a flash in
No,
the pan.
he's written many books after that, sir. There was
The
this,
Last Man in the Tower, is it Arvind Adiga?
Last Man in the Tower. Then Between the Assassinations is one book.
Ah, right.
Between, historical fiction which takes place between assassination of Indira Gandhi and assassination of Rajiv Gandhi. Um, I think, and Selection Days, I think the cricket story is called.
Selection Days
Yeah.
story, yeah.
Selection.
Rauji, my suggestion is if you have time, do read The Last Man in the Tower. I read
Which one?
that one. Arvind Adiga's other book, actually. I forgot for a minute that I read it, The Last Man in the Tower. It
Okay.
is
I will.
such
I
a
noted.
gripping book. It is very difficult to keep it down, and it is a very true picture of Mumbai's real estate.
Okay. Okay. Acha. Done. Done.
Manasvi has just messaged. Manasvi, bye Manasvi. And yes, White Tiger is as a movie is very interesting also. I've watched the movie. I've not yet read the book. Have you watched the movie?
Yeah, I have watched the movie and I've read the book also long time back. It's an old movie.
Yeah, it's
Few
an
years
old
back
movie.
it had come.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, great. We'll see you then in the next meeting.
Yes, next
Yeah,
month.
sure. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.